bad Venom, and it was. I mean, though I actually thought the animation wasn't bad, but having Topher Grace be Venom was kind of an insult to the character. I mean, Venom was always an older, you know, worn out photographer, and you know, I know they were trying to make him the anti Peter Parker, but I mean, we got enough of the quote unquote anti Peter Parker in that movie with the I don't know what the emo Peter, and yeah, that movie is bad. If we're talking the last year or so, Resident Evil Retribution, Paul W.S. Anderson, that movie sucked. If that movie lost all of its slow motion, it would have been about 35 minutes long. And that movie's bad. And then definitely most recently, and if those of you that saw my review, A Haunted House, I believe his name is Michael Tides. Yeah, I know you. I don't think he helped write it, but God, that movie was horrible. So, yeah, I don't have any. I don't even think I could come up with the words to describe that one. I tried, and I still didn't feel like I did an adequate job of saying how much that movie stunk. We'll move on. Barbara McMath. She says, "Is it really necessary for the f bomb to be used in every used every other word to make a good movie, to make a movie at all?" No, it's not. That being said, there are. I think you can use it, and you can use it effectively. You can use it if you some people just use it to use it. Some people use it, and it's very effective. There's some really good quotes in movies that involve that word. Um, you know, Usual Suspects used it well. The movie Blade had a great quote with that word. But is it necessary? No. There's plenty of good movies that don't use that word, and it's all in the eye of the beholder. If you don't like it, I mean, we can get into the whole debate about, um, like the cleanup of, and censorship of Hollywood movies. I honestly feel filmmakers should just be able to make the movie they want. And if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. So, I mean, that's my opinion on that. Though I can appreciate people wanting a good story and not having that. And there's that whole debate there, and we can get in the whole clean flicks debate and all that. And I think that's another story for another time. I'm actually thinking about doing a little something on the whole clean flicks thing, writing about it. It's something I've been working on. Because I actually bought some of the clean flick stuff a few years back, and so I mean it's something I want to talk about later. But is it necessary? No, but filmmakers are going to make the movies they want, and I mean that's just it. Um, Randy, and I will butcher your last name. I'll say Zumsky, and if I'm wrong, let me know. Uh, what do you believe is the best Monty Python movie and why? I'm probably not the best person to ask this question because I'm not a huge fan of Monty Python, but there is one that is incredible, and that's Holy Grail. I mean, I've seen other ones, and I get the humor. I just don't think it's great. But that one transcends the normal Monty Python routine, I think. And then it also has the same stuff, but the same type of humor. But it also, I think, it's more in tune for everybody as opposed to a lot of their other movies. So yeah, definitely Holy Grail. I mean, come on, the coconut horses, the Black Knight, Spam, all that stuff. Yeah, it's Holy Grail by far, no debate with me. Randy Levine asks, what is the best method to prevent Uwe Boll from ruining any more video game based movies? Those of you that don't know who Uwe Boll is, he is a German director, writer that has gotten his hands on lots of video game franchise, and I actually believe he really loves games. Um, but he just has made some really bad and some not so bad, not as bad as people think they are. Video game movies, movies like based on Far Cry, Dungeon Siege, Blood Rain is by far the worst. I actually found some enjoyment from at least the first Siege movie. I haven't seen the part two, and there's a part three coming out if it hasn't already. And I've seen Far Cry, and it's pretty bad too. But Blood Rain, he did three of them, and they're not good. I was never a fan of the game either, but I mean, how hard is it to do a movie about a vampire chick that hunts vampires? An incredibly good looking vampire hunter chick that hunts vampires. Um, and yeah, it was. And I mean, and he had Ben Kingsley as his villain. I mean, how can you mess that up? I mean, that man's a genius, and and he was horrible in that movie, and I don't think it was all his fault. So, but anyway, Yui Bull, I actually appreciate him, and a lot of people probably wonder why. Those of you that know who he is like, what are you thinking? And I find Yui Bull. He made a version. I don't know if those of you that have heard of the video game Postal. There's I think two or three of them. Basically, the game was made to be the most offensive game ever. I mean, anything that you could put in a game that's offensive was there, and and the movie version of it, I watched it and I didn't think I was ever gonna like it, and I loved it. I thought uh, it was definitely a parody type movie, and what I really appreciate about Yui Bull in that movie is he made fun of himself and the criticism of that people make of him. Plus, he made himself to look like a horrible human being, and it was all in the taste of the movie, and I thought it worked really well. And the movie was vulgar, and the movie was just stupid, violent, and but the creator of the video game Postal was in the movie yelling at Yui Bull for ruining his video game franchise, and it was taken out of context because the people didn't realize they were in a movie, but they took it out. They took that where he was saying we're in a movie and you made it suck. So if you get a chance to watch Postal, if you can handle the unrated version of it, it's ridiculously bad when it comes to content. But if you can let that go and watch it, it's I think it was a good time. And a lot of people give him crap, but he made a movie called Rampage. No, it's not based on the video game where the ape and the dinosaur and the big wolf are destroying cities. Though that a lot of people, whenever they found out he's making a movie called Rampage, thought that's what it was. Um, but it's a movie that is about a guy that just starts shooting up a city. Uh, he gets in full body armor and shoots up a city, but there's actually a really good story behind it, and you could actually probably call it along the lines of maybe Natural Born Killers or something. Maybe not as complex, but it it was very compelling story, and just watching this guy, his mental state develop, and you got to decide if he's crazy or just insanely smart. So yeah, it was that movie was nuts, and I didn't think it was going to be any good. And I caught it on Netflix one night, and it was actually really cool. So I mean, not saying it's cool to shoot people up. I'm just saying the movie itself was very compelling, and just the filmmaking. I thought it wasn't what I would ever expect from Yui Bull. So usually his movies either are horrible or they're just dumb fun, and this was actually a very compelling movie for a very serious subject. So Randy also asked, I love this question: is Chuck Norris really that badass? Yes, and don't question him. So, um, so people have a love affair with Chuck Norris, and I do too. I get in on the joke, and even he gets in on the joke. So is he really that badass? Yeah. You don't question Chuck Norris; he'll roundhouse kick you in the face. So anyway, so yes. Mike Fox asks, "What's your favorite movie of all time?" Usual Suspects by far. And I've told the story before, and this is the one movie uh, I will never tell anyone the ending to. I mean, this movie would it work nowadays with this movie? No, it's got to be a period piece because technology would ruin this film. But especially nowadays where everything's so instant. But yeah, this movie, great characters. This is the great story. This is the movie that made me fall in love with movies. Um, just this was back in the day when a movie trailer didn't tell you anything, and I am so. This is another debate for another time, but movie trailers are ruining movies nowadays because they some of them even just tell you the whole story, and it's ridiculous. But back in the day, with Usual Suspects, I remember seeing a commercial for it, and it said all it said was in different voices and different words on the screen. It would say, and I tried finding the video and I couldn't. Um, but so I could show you, but I couldn't. But it basically would it just kept saying, "Who is Kaiser Soze? Who is Kaiser Soze? And that just made me say, "Okay, who's Kaiser Soze?" And the funny story behind that I always tell behind this movie is, and I won't name names because I'm not going to be mean like that. But I just kind of get some humor out of it. I was on a date in high school when I saw this movie, and I always like to say I couldn't remember the date, but I remember everything about that movie. Um, so, um, I remember watching that movie and my jaw dropped. And what the funny thing about that movie is, I have bought ever since it became easier to get movies. Because of course, back when I was in high school, you'd have to go to a video store and pay $100 for a videotape for a movie if you really wanted it. And of course, as a high school kid, you have no money. So whenever movies became readily available, I have starting with DVDs, I have bought every version of that movie that has come out up until the one that's come out lately. I can't remember when the last one came out, but I have a Blu-ray copy of it. I've had DVD copies of it. It's just the one movie I'm going to buy every time it comes out because I'm always hoping for something new. And even if I don't get anything new, I have a new copy of it, and I love the movie. So yeah, Usual Suspects by far. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure most people have by now. But that's one of those ones that if they remake it, to me, it's the perfect period piece film. Would I like to see an updated version of it? Maybe, but the twist wouldn't work. So the movie has some great twists, and they wouldn't work if you tried to remake it. They need to just leave that movie alone, and I'm sure we'll get a remake in about 5 years. So, so yeah, Usual Suspects. See it, love it. It's a great movie. Um, so we'll go ahead and move on. Kyler, who actually sent me a great question about Mama the other day, he had some questions about it, and this is a big question when it comes to content. Says, in your opinion, what movie do you believe is the best Oscar winner in the Best Picture category and why? And he says his would be Forrest Gump. I mean, how many years of Oscars? What, 70, 80 years of Oscars? You can't have seen them all, and especially with the Oscars, a lot of maybe not nowadays, but say 5, 10 years ago, maybe more closer to 10 years ago, a lot of the movies that were up for Best Picture, you'd never have a chance to see. Nowadays, movies are getting more wide releases, and then with the addition of things like Netflix and stuff like that, you get a better chance to see movies. So nowadays it's not so much, but back in the day, it was hard to see. You'd be like, "What is that movie?" That's why I kind of lost love for the Oscars because they had movies they would vote some Best Picture and you would have no idea what that movie was, and then I'm supposed to care about it. But I was going through the list, and there's a few that I like. Movies like Casablanca, stuff like that. I mean, there's lots of great movies, but if I'm going to pick one that's near and dear to me, it's going to be Braveheart. That movie